What's going on, people? Fabian Mazur here for Soundtrap. Welcome to the remake series. Today I'm going to be recreating a track from scratch in Soundtrap. The track I've chosen for today is Doja Cat's Need to Know.
Yeah, wanna know what it's like. Baby, show me what it's like.
So let's dive into it. Alright, let's get started. The first thing we're going to look at is the main synth that's in the intro. That's actually the main synth throughout the entire track. So that's going to carry the whole track. It sounds like this. Pretty simple chord progression, so let's try to find a synth that sounds a little bit like that in Soundtrap. Now I'm going to drag the tempo up because the Doja Cat song is in 130 BPM, so we're going to go with that. Then let's add a synth track, and I'm going to go to synths here and just browse through all the synth until I find one that sounds like the Doja Cat one. I think we can get this to sound like that one. Just gonna go into options here and modulate the synth a little bit. So I want less attack, which is the initial hit of the synth. I want a little bit more release. If we tune the fine a little bit. And you hear the more I turn the fine up, the more detuned it gets, the more wonky it gets. Now let's play around with the filter a little bit. So you hear on the Doja Cat synth that it is high cut, meaning that it doesn't have a lot of high-end information. Now the effects I hear on the Doja Cat one is some form of modulation that makes it wide. That could be a chorus, it could be a tremolo, it could be a vibrato. What I tend to do on Soundtrap is go to movement, and usually I pick either the tape wobble or the stereo chorus. So something around there. Now, to really beef up the sound, I almost always add some kind of distortion. Juicy distortion for this. The more you turn up the low cut, the more you low cut the EQ on what you're distorting. Essentially, if I turn it to 400 Hertz, it will be distorting everything above 400 Hertz in the frequency spectrum. So, completely different sound. Now, what I tend to do with a sound like this is also just clean it up to get it to sound more like the Doja Cat one. That should cut the high end. What I usually do is I drag the delay over here, or I just add another delay. And I don't want a lot of high end in that delay either, because it needs to be a little muffled. Also, it makes room for a vocal in the mix. I'm also going to add just another layer just to get it sounding a little bit more like the Doja Cat one. So I'm going to find something that's more mid-rangey and not high-endy at all, just to give a little bit of beef in that region. I like that one. Let's see how that sounds. Exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to pick these, just do some lower ones. All right, so there we go. We have the synths now. So let's get to the drums. All right, so next thing we're going to look at is the drums. On the original, they sound like this. So these are trap style hip hop drums. The curveball I hear in this track in the drums is actually in the hi-hats. Usually hi-hats in that genre are short and attacky, but these are like reversed and washy and splashy, which I kind of like actually. So we're going to try to recreate that. Let's start with the hi-hats. Hat, I'm going to click hip hop. I'm going to try to drag this in. I'm actually going to try to see if I can reverse this and then move it strangely on here. All right, so we got the hats now. What I also hear in the original is that the hats are panning a little bit from left to right. So what we do is we click movement over here, and we can use a couple of different effects, but what I tend to use is the auto pan. And I'm just gonna modulate the depth a little bit and the rate down. So now it's panning a little bit from left to right. Let's go for the drum sounds. So I'm gonna scroll down to some of the packs I know. I do use the hype trap a lot. The flux might also have something. I like this kick. And we gotta find a clap. This one is actually close to the one we're looking for. So what I'm gonna do here is just process the drums a little bit. Usually I take the kick, I make it pretty short, and then I fade the end out. And I'm just gonna take the kick here and add drums, clipper. And we're gonna take the clap, and before I add a clipper, I do wanna add some high end. So I always use the visual EQ for stuff like this. We could add a distortion, but I might just go clipping. Let's see. All right, so we got the drums done and they sound like this. Yep. So next thing is the 808 or the bass, the main thing that's driving the track as well. It's super saturated and fills a lot of the space in the mix. So let's see if we can make an 808 like the track.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go click the synth here. Just gonna go bass and 808s, and I'm gonna go 808 glide and just scroll through until I find something that is or can get close to the original. I swear this is almost identical to the 808 in the song. I'm gonna play with the EQ to get this sounding a little better in the mix, but honestly, it's pretty close out of the gate here. I'm just gonna go to effects, and there's already a clipper on it, which is why it sounds so close to the original, because there was definitely a clipper on the bass in the originals. I'm gonna add a little bit of attack on the 808 just to get the kick to punch through before the 808. That's it for the 808. So there's two more things to the song that I want to add to this beat. One is that vocal detail, and another one is the string and the breakdown. If we click synth, is there vocals in here? Voice? Let's see. I think I'm gonna take the low one and then distort it. Let's record it. That rhymed. That's it for the vocal chop. Let's get to those strings in the break here. Essentially, it's just the same chords, it's just sustained, so. All right, so that's it for the string breakdown as well. I'm just gonna add a few effects for the transitions, and then I'm gonna play the final beat. All right, so I just added a few effects, added some different sections to the beat, and we now have a final beat that sounds like this. So that's it for the final beat. Just added a bunch of different effects, transitional sweeps, all that stuff. I usually just search for transition over in the loop section here. And I just added a bunch of stuff like these loops. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this remake. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. You can also find a link to the project down below. If you want to go on Soundtrap and check out the project, feel free. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.